For eye blinks, I'm going to show you a couple ways of doing eye blinks. These are ovals. The anchor point is at the middle, and I non-uniformly scaled them on the y-axis, the up and down. So I'm going to hit S for scale, and you can see my keyframes. Let's zoom in, take a look. Using my magnification right here. So I start off with anticipation. Anticipation's going in the opposite direction. So since the eye is going to be blinking, I had the eye grow up a little bit, only on the Y, the up and down. You'll see I turned off the chain. My side to side is going to stay 100 the whole time. So here's my blink. I didn't go fully down so that you get that little bit of the eye there. And I'm just going back up. And I did a little bit of overshoot. So I went past 100, then down to 100 for that number there. That's one way of doing it. That makes sense to you, Shalia? Okay, so that's the first way. Here's another way. This is the more hand-drawn look, like what you're going for. Okay, so I've got my pen tool. So first, I'm going to say, where is the middle of my eye, like my pretend eyeball? I'll go like that, and then I'll put one there, one at the middle, one there, and one there. So this will be my top eyelid. Hit enter to name it. Now, since you drew yours in Illustrator, we'll pretend you brought it in here. You would have to right-click or hold, the control key to get it, and you go create, and then create shapes from vector right down there. It's grayed out because I already did. So you bring in your line art, then it turn it into a shape layer. Once it's a shape layer, you can twirl down again, twirl down, go to the path, and you can animate the path. Okay. So we're going to do a compare and contrast. I'm going to hold down Command and double click my pan behind to snap my anchor to the middle. And I drew that with the layer selected. That's why it went to the same layer. So I don't want that. Deselect. There's my other eyeball. Okay. It's over. That over. We'll go a white fill on this. And I just have a red stroke so that it stands off the background. Okay, so here's what we originally did for the dog because the eye was an oval. Went forward. Now remember, a blink is fast. So I'm just going a couple frames. So I'm going to do a little bit of exaggeration. Overshoot. Then go forward a little bit. And scale downwards to it. This is what it looks like if you keep white on the inside, okay? That's just a warning. You can really do that as two different layers. Go forward a little bit. I'll go past 100 for that little bit of overshoot, and then end it on 100. So let's see what that looks like. Okay? Now, I could always spread it out more to slow it down a little bit, like such. That's a bit better. And lastly, I'd select all my keyframes, or I could click the word scale to select them all, hover over one, right click, or hold down the control key to get that, and mouse click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, slow in, slow out. So that's one way of blinking the eye that we just did with the dog. Now this way of blinking the eye is with paths. So here's my path. I'm going to click my path. I can now animate. So I'll go forward a little bit. And I'm going to animate this one opening. And this right here is the main difference. I'm creating drag. There's a little bit of friction as it goes across the eyeball. when you have this one, it's going to be moving in perfectly straight up and down lines. This one's got a bit of a curve to it. That's the benefit of doing it this way. You get a more realistic eye blink. I can even move this up a little bit at that point. Go forward a little bit more. Then end it like right here, where it'd be, you know, just above the eyelid. And then I'll, oops. Zoom in, fix that. So I held down the shift key so I could access just that one point. So I'm working one point at a time. And don't forget, you can animate your half points as well as your Bezier curve handles. Animate all that over time. So I'm going to zoom out. Now let's look at the difference. I'm going to easy ease these, select them all, right click, or hold down Control and click. Easy ease. Let's watch our two eyelids. See that? So if you play this one in reverse, let's say I want to go in reverse. Select all my keyframes, right click or hold down Control and click. Keyframe Assistant, time reverse keyframes. So now I'm working backwards. Like that. There's my eyelid covering that up. So I could take this, Command D to duplicate it, and let's forward here, and we'll make this the bottom lid. I hit enter to name it. Here's the rotate point. Let's try rotating it 180 degrees, see if that works. Okay, that worked. So I'm just going to line it up a little bit with my arrow keys. There we go. See that difference? You got the curve following the shape of the eye. That's the difference between doing it with paths as opposed to doing it with an oval. Okay, that help you out? All right, and like I said, I'm recording this. I believe yeah, there's the little blink, so I recorded that. And I'm also going to share the file. So that was the first one. Now, no problem at all. Now, for bringing in Illustrator artwork. So, Sam, this one will be for you. I already brought in Brandon's artwork, but I'm going to do it again just so you can see it. I could double click on the empty project panel area or go File, Import File. I'm doing File, Import File. And let's see. So here's Brandon's artwork. You do the same with yours. So you click one time only once, got it? And then import as composition retain layer sizes. This way, if you broke it out into layers, you'll be able to access the individual layers. So there's my composition retain layer sizes. I hit open. And it created the sequence. So I double click on that sequence and there's all the artwork. And this is crucial for everyone to remember, especially usually because you got all your stuff in Illustrator. Don't forget, I'm in my modes. You see mode right there. Toggle switches and modes is right here. That's how you get between your switches and your modes. So I'm going to go back to my switches. And for all your Illustrator artwork, you got to click and drag down on that gear. So you activate the gear for each one. That's continuously rasterized. That's going to keep your artwork looking smooth and clean. All right, now let's talk more about what we did with rigging this dog character. When I'm working with complex character, all these layers, this little circle right here, that's your solo. That'll hide all the other layers. You click it to turn it off and on. So that really helps me nail my anchor point placement. For the ears, I put the anchor point where the ear meets the head. And for the head, I put the anchor point down near where it meets the body, the neck. So I'm gonna move that a little bit. Okay, good. So we got that. Now for the snout, I put my anchor point near where it meets the face where it's gonna be rotating from. So I already showed you what I did with these eyeballs to get them to blink. The path for the mouth, I animated the path shape just to get to open and close like that, okay? That's how I made the mouth move. Since we talked about expressions and how they save you a lot of time, for the ear, I'm pressing the R key to bring up rotation, and you can see I've got an expression on the rotation. I used the wiggle expression. Remember, you start typing, you double click to auto-complete the expression. 1 time a second was too severe, so I'm having it do every other second. 0.5 is like not every second. And then 4, a very small amount. And reminder, I'm still in the expression field. You've got to click out of it before you start typing or hit the space bar. So that expression is on these ears. And you can see as I scrub, the ears have a little wiggle to them. I did the same expression with the nose, the snout. I'm hitting R to get to it. I'm going to twirl down. But for the snout, I did once per second an amount of 4 because I wanted a little bit more motion and movement to the snout. The head, I put a rotation expression on it. I'm going to twirl that down to look at it. And it's the same amount I had for the ears. And this is where I started getting into the bender expression. I'm going to go out of my 32 bits per channel. I'm holding down Alt or Option and clicking on that. Bender expression works with a top and a base. Whenever you see stuff like this, you'll find it in like offset transform and stuff like that, these crosshairs. You click once. The base I set a little below where the hair is. So I click once, and that's where I set it, right there. Click again to set it, and you can see where I set the top. Click once, click again to set it. That's where the top is. The base does not move. The top is the part that moves side to side with bender. And I put an expression in there, and there's my wiggle expression in the bender amount. A very small, slight wiggle. And watch the tuft of hair. Sways a bit back and forth. See? A little bit of life to the hair. Just add some interest. I did bender on the ears as well. Same thing. Base. The base was the top where it met the head. The top was the part that's going to be swaying, which is the bottom of the ear. I hit E to pull up my effect. I can twirl down to get to it. And there's the wiggle expression I put on each ear. Let's talk about parenting and the whiskers. I made one whisker, got it working perfectly, and then I moved it around, duplicating. So I'm only going to show you that. So I drew my stroke to make the whisker, and then I tapered it. I tapered it by going into the contents, the shape, the stroke, and there's my taper. So I tapered the end so it gets a little thinner as it gets further away from the face, the way it would in real life. Now, here's where parenting comes into play. I put a wiggle rotate expression on the head. So the head bobbles from time to time, a small amount, just to give it some random life. I'm going to press U to hide all my keyframes. Okay. Most of this character rig is parented to the head. The whiskers right here are parented to the snout. Everything else is parented to the head. So this snout is parented to the head. As the head bobbles back and forth, the snout moves with it. Additionally, it has its own wiggle expression on the rotate. So it bobbles up and down while the head moves around. The whiskers are parented to the snout. So as the snout moves, the whiskers move with it. And that's what kept this character together. And you could use whatever amount of bend you want to give more or less rigidity to those whiskers. If you gave it less bend, it'd be more like a stiff porcupine quill. All right, so that's a recap on that. Just watch your parenting. You could always use the drop-down menu, or you could use the pick whip. Reminder, I like using the pick whip because it helps with expressions, like what we did here. we use the index expression. I'll hit R for rotate, twirl down, and here's the index expression we used. Index asterisk 360 degrees, so it goes around in a circle. Divide slash. This number is however many shapes will make it a circle. So we chose 12. So we duplicated this layer, Command D, and each duplicate rotated 30 degrees until it made this circular design. So I did a trim path animation on the first one, on the start. That's what's causing it to draw itself on. That's the trim path. Then, to add life to the dash, we opened up the shape, the stroke, the dash. I added an expression to the dash. I added the time expression. Time asterisk. The higher this number is, the faster the motion will be. This expression works very well in offsets and evolutions. What that means is it's going to constantly be moving something in this animation. And for that, it's the offset of these dashes. You can see them moving in the animation above. That's what's causing that ring to move outwards. That's the time expression on that offset. So I'm going to show something new, another use of that time expression. I'm going to create a new sequence. I'm going to add a solid layer by going layer new solid, because I'm just going to be throwing a fractal in this. So I don't really need to have path points. I'm going to type in noise, and I'll do turbulent noise for this. And I apologize for the chair squeaking as I move, but not much I can do. Okay, let's add some contrast. Brighten it up a little bit. Some more contrast. Let's do dynamic progressive. Increase the complexity, so we've got more to work with. And lastly, let's twirl down our transform. Let's increase the scale of this. Right, so here's our fractal. Let's add a little bit more contrast. Okay, so I'm going to again reiterate those expressions. Take down the brightness just a little bit. There we go. First, evolution. As I said before, the time expression works very well with evolution. So I'm going to hold down Alt or Option as I click on that stopwatch once. And remember, you got to click out of your expression field. That expression I used was time asterisk. This is 200. It's going to be a bit more higher of a number. Now you can see the fractal is animating because I put that time expression in the evolution. This will constantly be moving. I didn't need any keyframes. That's time, offset, turbulence. There's another recap on those crosshairs we talked about. Offsetting the motion of something gives you those crosshairs. And again, that means you can click once and say, start here. I'm going to click my stopwatch, move forward to however late I want it to be. And for this, let's just have it move sideways. So I'm just going to have it flow to the side. Or I could have used my crosshairs for that. So that's what's happening to our fractal as it's going off to the side. So that was the time expression. Just for the fun of it, I'm going to take that fractal, put it up here above the offset I just showed you. Let me turn off my title save, right here, that button. I'm going to hide that fractal. I'm going to go layer, new, adjustment layer. Now remember, an adjustment layer affects every layer below it. So I'm going to throw a displacement map on my adjustment layer. I hid my fractal. I selected my adjustment layer. So here's my displacement map. What am I using as the map? That fractal I just brought in, effects and masks. Now over here, we'll start to see it displace it. Say how much we want that to do. Now look what happened to that geometric looking artwork with the displacement map. Let's see what that looks like. I'll hit spacebar to preview and render it. Now we have a rougher, less geometric looking shape. That's just a little bit of what displacement maps can do to your artwork. You can use them to make things look like paint, water, fire. It's really up to you. Okay, here's a recap. All right, I'll make my wheel a circle. And I'm gonna put the anchor point at the center by holding down Command and double clicking on my pan behind tool. There's my anchor point at the center. All right, I'll call this wheel. Now I'm going to deselect it so I get my second layer. I'm going to do a star. Drag. It's good. Now let's edit this star a little bit because we got some time. So I'm twirling down the points. That's pretty good. I'll make the stroke a little thinner. Now let's try these radiuses. That's helping it come along a lot better. And I'm happy with that. Okay. Move it up a little bit. Good. All right. I'm going to hit U to collapse my layers. I'll call this spokes. Okay. And I'm going to select both of them. Move it over here a little bit. All right. I'm going to parent the spokes to the wheel. I can do that by clicking my pick whip and dragging or using the drop down menu. Like I said, I want to get you in the habit of using the pick whip because it helps with expressions as we saw tonight. So P for position on my wheel, pick my stopwatch, move forward. Let's move it over to the side. These spokes are parented to the wheel. As the wheel moves with its position, the spokes move with it, but they are not rotating. So I'm going to hit R for rotate on my spokes. I'm going to add an expression here. Remember, to add an expression, you hold down Alt or Option as you click one time on that stopwatch. This is the pick whip for my layer. I know I misspelled spokes. Let me fix that. This is the pick whip for that layer. This is the pick whip for a transform property. Transform properties are position, scale, rotation, and opacity. This pick whip is for expressions. I'm using the expression pick whip, and I'm going to click and drag to the word position for the wheel. What this is saying, we Alt or Option clicked on the rotation. We're saying this rotation is based off of this position. And in other words, as this wheel moves, these spokes will rotate. I click out of my expression field. Remember, any extra spaces or line breaks or typos and your expression will not work. And there is our wheel rotating as it moves. Okay, just to have it reinforced. Again, I'm hitting Enter to rename my layers. And I'm going to put this anchor point in the middle just by holding down Command and double clicking. Control D to duplicate my layer. I'm going to put it on the bottom just by clicking and dragging. Enter to rename it. And I'm going to change the color just to make it easier to see what's what. And I'm just going to slide it down by holding down Shift and my arrow keys on my keyboard. So now we can see the top one is going to be LoopOut, and the bottom one is going to be LoopOut Pingpong. You can activate multiple stopwatches for layers by selecting multiple layers. So I just click and drag or I could Command A, select all. If I hit P for position and then click my stopwatch, I activated both stopwatches and added my keyframes in there. So I'm going to go over here and click and drag, hold down Shift, change my render area a little bit. So now both my pieces are moving across the screen. I'll drop down my preview resolution so I can go faster. So the top will be loop out. You need keyframes so that you know what you're looping. I'm going to hold down Alt or Option while I click that stopwatch and type in my expression. Double click to auto-complete it. Now for my bottom, I'm going to add loop out ping pong. So I'm going to hold Alt or Option while I click on that position stopwatch. Double click to auto-complete. Now I'm going to hit the quotation marks. I need to add another part to this expression. I'm going to double click on ping pong. You have to hit the quotation marks in order to get the rest of the expression. Here's what the two expressions look like. Hit the space bar and we'll watch it loop. The top one, loop out, goes to the edge and does a jump cut back to the first keyframe. It's saying this frame is over here. After we pass this frame, it's going to start back at that position of that frame. Instantly, we're back at the beginning. Whereas loop out ping pong is saying we'll start on this frame, go to this frame, and then backwards to that frame on a loop. This is great for animating bird wing flaps and things that need to keep going back and forth. You can do it with eyelid blinks if you need to. Now, let's say we needed to add some time in between. So let's go to our eye blinks for that. So here's our blinks. The top one, let's say I want it to not blink for 3 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a keyframe just by clicking the diamond button. Reminder, this is previous keyframe. Add or delete a keyframe or go to your next keyframe. Adding a keyframe here, gives it the same value as the one that came before. So there's no change between these two keyframes. I can add my loop out right here. I'm going to hold down Alt, double click to complete, click out of the expression field. And what this should do is it should blink, and then 3 seconds later, once it gets here, go back to the first frame and start the blink again. Let's test it out. See? It'll blink every 3 seconds with just that first set of keyframes we had to create. This is a way of adding life to your character easily. That extra keyframe is everything. Without it, it would go here and then immediately back to the first frame. Adding this frame, this keyframe that's the exact same as that one, gives us 3 seconds of pause in between those blinks. This is one of those instances where I tell you Adobe just stops working sometimes. Okay, well that's not going to work. So in this instance, I'm just going to copy the keyframes and go a little bit past that, paste. Then I have to right click or hold down Control and click, Keyframe Assistant, Time Reverse. So it's going to go eye closed, eye opens, then the lid starts closing again. So I'm going to make sure they line up. Click Path to get all of my keyframes. Command C to copy. Command V to paste. Hover over, right click or hold down Control as I click. Time reverse the keyframes. Now let's take a look. And that's the difference between the two blinks. The top one, the round oval loop out worked, but for the path, loop out ping pong did not work. But at least we're able to copy and paste the keyframes and then reverse them so that it goes in the proper order. Right, I know what you're talking about. All right, here we go. We're going to fake a lighthouse light ray going in front of the building and then behind the building. You can click this little X right here to get rid of that expression error. It's bothering me. Here is our lighthouse. The greatest lighthouse that was ever drawn. All right, class dismissed. So I'm going to hit enter to name it. This squeaking chair is going to be a long semester. Okay. Now, let's talk about that light ray first. We're going to use our pen tool for it. I'm going to want a rectangle, well, you know, the shape here. So that's 4 paths plus 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to try. I'm going to do the center, dead down the center first. I'll move forward a little bit. Nothing selected. So this would be the side beam coming in. I'm going to add a point there, point there, point there, just so we got some extra frames if we need it. Some extra points. Okay, so I forgot. This has got to drag down here. So that's going to be the light. Now, let's fix this light so we know what's what. Let's actually make it cool blue just so we can see it easily. There we go. And we'll get rid of the stroke. Remember, click the word stroke to pull up the stroke options to get rid of them. That. Now we gotta get to our path. So I'm just scrolling down till I get to the path. I click on the path and now I can edit the path. So I'm gonna make sure this covers the lighthouse the way we want it to. Okay. I'm gonna click my stopwatch. Now we're gonna animate this path. I'm gonna go forward to the start. I hit shift to deselect this one path. Now I can click on it and then shift select those. Now let's think about how we want this light to be. With the light, so Sam, do you want the light going this way or do you want it tilted more outward? Because it's an easy fix for either. It's just changing that one path point and this one. Well, I mean, like the shape. Is it going to be... That's fine? Okay. So here's our shape. We're animating the path. I'm going to add in extra paths as it's going, just to keep it going off the screen. And like, I'll need to do that right here. There we go. That's much better. You just want to fix those little imperfections because we're going to loop this. Does that make sense to you, Sam, how I added those extra points so that the light does that? Okay, good. Now, let's see. So if this is 1 second, so I'm going to go forward to the 2-second mark. Because if this is mechanical motion, I want it to be even. Now it's going from one side of the screen to the other side of the screen at the same pace. And I'll start matching up my angles. I hit Control R to get a guide. I could say, okay, that point is there. Remember, you could use your previous and next to make it perfect. So I'll move that 1 point up, fix that. And then I'll fix this one. Then I'll work backwards. As I change my path points, it automatically creates a new keyframe for me. And I'm just going to keep watching. Make sure that light behaves itself. Or a little bit. Get that out. Okay, so here's the rough motion of the light. Got it? Since this is mechanical motion, I'm not going to ease it, okay? Because it's on a gear and it's constant, like the second hand of a clock. Okay, that's fast, but let's see what happens if I hold down Alt and I drag all of the keyframes but that one. Okay, and then this one I'll just slide over. That should slow it down a bit. That's much slower. I'm happy with that. So that was just selecting the keyframes, holding down Alt or Option as I drag them. All right. Now we're cooking with gas. Let's do a light effect on here. Let's try light breeze for a second. Yeah, now that's hitting the bounding box. So I'm not going to do that one. Let's try lightweight does. We might probably just end up doing glow. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, let's just throw a glow on there just for the fun of it. And remember, as we discussed earlier, if you're using light effects, you're going to want to be at a higher bit depth. So at the bottom of your project panel, you click project to get back to it. You hold down Alt or Option as you click here where it says 8 BPC, bits per channel. I hold that down and I got 16. One more time, now I got 32. Okay, so I can focus on this glow better, I'm going to hit this button right here to hide that path. That's just going to help me see the glow more easily. I'm going to go to my effects controls. So that's the threshold. Okay, so adjust the radius. There we go. Dial that down. That, not bad. See, so now we've got a little bit of light. That's looking a bit better. Let's try one more thing because that's what lab time's all about. Anyone who's ever used Photoshop has used Gaussian blur. Let's see. Gaussian blur, now look what's happening. We're softening up those edges so it's less geometric looking. See the difference? Watch this. See? Subtle little things. Now let's drop our preview resolution to full. Take a better, more accurate look at our gradient. I'm happy with that. That's looking pretty cool. So here's the motion. We're going to have it reverse with a twist. going to select all my keyframes by clicking the word path, Command C to copy, Command V to paste, hover over, right click or hold down the control key. There, keyframe assistant, time reverse. So it's going to go to the edge, then start sweeping backwards, okay? Now watch right here. See that? It's going to need to start going behind the lighthouse. So I'm going to split the layer here. You got two options. You can go Edit, Split Layer, or Command Shift D. Command D is duplicate. Command Shift D is split duplicate. And that splits it where the playhead is. Same thing as if I went Edit, Split Layer. I'm going to hit U to hide my keyframes. And the beam I put behind the lighthouse. So now it's going behind it. We could even probably go split that layer one more time, and this one, put it above a little longer, like that. I mean, it's up to you. You know, you gotta figure out a way of showing that light. I got an idea. Wait a second. Let's undo that. Here's where it's going to get interesting. Let's do this. Here's our lighthouse. No, we did wrong. There's no window. If we cut windows in it, then we'll see this beam through it. So with my lighthouse layer selected, I'm going to make a mask. And I'm going to do a shape layer mask. This is to create a shape. This is to create a shape layer mask. I'm just going to mask the inside of this a little bit. Following the shape, just so we could see. I press M to get to my mask layer, and I'll do subtract instead of add. There. So now, once that passes through, we see through the lighthouse window. And that fixes that. That help you out? All right, and I'll share the file with you, and everyone else has. Oh my goodness, it's time to end the class. Time flies when you're hanging out with me. No, you can't. No, just kidding. What? The same effect of what? Having light interact with characters. Here is your dog, and I'm going to go to my lighthouse, and rather than waste time, I'm going to grab this light beam, okay? And I'm going to paste it over your dog. Put it up at the top. I'm in my modes, so I can do a blending mode. Let's say screen. See this? The light is interacting with the dog now. The parts where the light hits, you know, that's one fast way of doing it. We could also hit T for transparency. Adjust how much that light is affecting it. Yeah. And we'll see it better when we hide that background. Now, I'm going to try something because that's what lab time's all about. Here's my head, okay? I'm going to go CC light sweep. Here's my light sweep. I'm going to throw it on the head. Now, I'm going to hide the light beam so we can see it more easily. With light sweep, see, here's our crosshairs. Remember, it's click once. Now look at that, okay? I didn't have to figure out the angle. Sharp or smooth. Width, how much is it doing? The intensity. Well, I'm filming it too. So now I can turn your light back on, and I've got that rim light. So I can copy and paste this to the ears because the light would be hitting the ears too. See, look at that. See the difference? That is everything. Those little details. Look at how much we got that nice subtle rim light going. Without those light effects, it would have just been more flat. This helps sell it very quickly. You'll need a little bit on the snout because that's protruding. So I'm going to paste that. And there we go. See? Look at that. Here's the difference. See that? Once you get your angle and it looks good, just copy and paste that on the layers that the light would be hitting. The snout comes out further than the mouth. The ears would be hitting it like that. All right, everyone. Have a great weekend. Very productive this week. All right, keep up the great work. You as well.